Hello, my name is Pastor Jeremy Ulrich here for the Daily Bread Bible Study. This is day 144 for Saturday, May 23rd, 2020, focusing on Nehemiah chapters 11 through 13. So today is the official end of the book of Nehemiah, and we see some of his leadership challenges and joys here in this section. So in Nehemiah 11, with the walls of Jerusalem rebuilt and a covenant with God renewed to the house of the Lord, people are needed to inhabit Jerusalem. And the people cast lots for a tithe from the congregation, a tithe being 1/10 of the people, and they are selected by lot, aka by God, to live in Jerusalem. The rest of chapter 11 dictates who lived where, including the Judahites, who will be called the Jews, the Benjaminites, and the priests and the Levites, the gatekeepers, the temple servants, and the singers. And so there is also a list of the villages where the people lived outside of Jerusalem. In Nehemiah 12, chapter 12 specifies the priests and the Levites over the period of time of Nehemiah with the building up of Jerusalem. And so it gives a list there. We see then that the Levites are gathered to Jerusalem, and half of the company of the leaders stood on top of the wall, while the other half stood by the priest at the temple there with Nehemiah. And with the priests and Levites already have been purified, the whole assembly dedicates the wall. And it says in Nehemiah 12:43, the joy of Jerusalem was heard far away. So there's great celebration and great joy at completing their work, their hard effort, done together, done as people of faith and people in God, and they have rebuilt something precious to them, Jerusalem. Additionally, men are appointed in charge of managing the donations given to the temple and to properly oversee the management for the priest and the Levites, which then gets connected into Nehemiah 13 with some of the challenges that Nehemiah has overcome on behalf of the people. The first challenge is that, the challenge that we have starting off first is hearing some words of Moses that convicts the people of their relationship with Ammonite and Moabite descendants. So upon hearing Deuteronomy 23, the people in Jerusalem have a problem. They have individuals living with them who are Ammonites and Moabites. And while technically these Ammonites and Moabites are relatives, remember on Genesis 19, day 5 of our Daily Bread Bible study, we talked about the descendants of Lot, namely the Ammonites and the Moabites. And so Lot, if you can remember back that far, Lot is the descendant connected with, he is the nephew of Abraham. And so Lot is the nephew of Abraham, and his children there are connected with the descendants of Abraham, which will be the Israelites. And so these Israelites, feel that they have a connection there, but also that when the Ammonites and Moabites forgot this connection, they were very unhelpful to the Israelites there in the wilderness. So we see this in Deuteronomy 23 under Moses' words in verse 3 of chapter 23 of Deuteronomy. No Ammonite or Moabite shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation, none of these descendants shall be admitted to the assembly of the Lord, because they did not meet you with food and water on your journey out of Egypt, and because they hired against you Balaam son of Beor and Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse you. So that stuck really harshly with Moses, and apparently the Israelites held on to that too. It was written in their books of Moses, and so when they read it again, they thought, well, this is not good to have heritage with these Ammonite and Moabite descendants. This is Deuteronomy 23 is slightly different than the other occurrence in which we have of Balaam, which is Numbers 22 through 24. That's day 47 of the Daily Bread Bible study, if you want to go back and watch that video. But that picture is a little bit rosier of Balaam, that Balaam is hired by King Balak of Moab in order to curse the Israelites, and Balaam keeps on saying, I can only do what God tells me to do. I'm only going to do that. So he blesses them instead of cursing them. It's kind of a comical account there in Numbers 22 through 24. But anyways, because of the bad history with the Ammonites and the Moabites, the people of Jerusalem expelled the descendants from their midst. This also includes removing connections to Tobiah, the Ammonite official, whom many in Jerusalem showed allegiance. And so then Nehemiah goes a little bit of a flashback and recounts a story of Tobiah getting a chamber in the temple of the Lord, an Ammonite having this high place in the temple of the Lord, and the error of the priest Elishib not properly managing the offerings for the people. So this is Nehemiah attacking Tobiah and Elishib, one of the priests. Because of this mismanagement, the Levites and the singers had to go work in the fields for food. So this is why Nehemiah sought to purify the Levites and priests, to reestablish and reaffirm their proper places in the temple, and to reestablish the practices of King David and King Solomon around functioning as temple leaders. Nehemiah is said to appoint trustworthy individuals, aka different leaders, other than Elishib, and people connected with Tobiah. He appoints these trustworthy individuals to manage the proper distribution of offerings. Nehemiah then addresses the issue of working on the Sabbath, and he comes up with a fitting way to address this situation. How about we keep the gates closed on the Sabbath? So that would prevent people from going out to their fields, and thus it would also prevent merchants, Gentile merchants, from coming in and selling things. He then coordinates purified Levites to watch over the gates of the Sabbath in order to maintain these Sabbath laws, because the Levites he knows and trusts will keep these laws enforced. Nehemiah also addresses a problem with mixed marriages, providing more insight than we have in the book of Ezra, which basically says get rid of your foreign wives and kids. Seems pretty harsh. The governor Nehemiah sees a problem. The children are not able to speak Hebrew. These children born to foreign wives, they learn the tongue of the Philistia, and they don't know Hebrew, and so they aren't able to read the law of the Lord, to be able to follow and understand that as well, to be able to participate in the community and the common language that they have in Hebrew. And so he sees this as a sign of not wanting to be a part of the community, not wanting to be a part of the worship of God. And so, he looks to bring up this heritage of Solomon's foreign wives as an indicator of what is to come. That even Solomon's foreign wives, Solomon loved God, but he was led astray by all the sin of his foreign wives. So Nehemiah again has a run-in with the house of the priest of Elishib, whose descendants still walk in their connections to foreign influences. And so for Nehemiah and Ezra, both getting rid of these foreign influences will helpfully help people to focus on God. So, in closing, in Nehemiah, building up a city is not just about walls. It is about connection to God, vision for leadership, and high standards of our interactions with God and others. Leadership is not easy. but it is rewarding and can make an impact on generations to come. So as you raise your children, your communities that you're connected with, may you be able to pass on what you value and why you value it. And may others see your love for God and reflected through your actions and your words. Thanks for joining me again for another day of the Daily Bread Bible Study. We look for Esther next time.